Hello everyone, back to today's fourth and final video. We're doing Ensembles Watch for tonight's fourth and final video. So we're going to go through all members of the GFS ensembles, including the operational, control and parallel GFS runs. See what they're all showing as we look ahead into the beginning of March. I think we go to around the 5th of March to 384 hours, which is as far as the GFS model is going at the moment. So I'll get on that for you very shortly. Just to say, it's been a really busy day at GFS today. So we started with our third batch of spring analogues. That video has now been placed on the spring updates forecast page. There's been a written summary that goes with that as well, so you can have a read of that. And also we've done the GFS study roundup, of course, as always, on a Sunday. And we have released the ECMWF and Metro France and DWD long range update as well. So have a look at all the videos, and they make for interesting viewing. Right, so at westcentral.d, and we're going to go through all of the GFS ensemble members, starting off with the operational GFS run. So this is the very latest, the midday run of the GFS. We're starting on Sunday in a week's time. So the GFS operational run for Sunday has high pressure sitting over to the east of the UK, low pressures in the Atlantic, and we bring up these very mild, if not quite warm, southerly winds. As we move through into the beginning of the following week, so we go through to Monday the 25th, that high pressure remains in control, so it stays dry and warm into the 25th of February. Gradually we see that high pressure just beginning to weaken a little bit as we're running up towards day 10. More of an influence from the Atlantic coming along. So as we go into the closing days of February, it's starting to turn a bit more unsettled, particularly for the north. It's starting to get a little bit cooler as well as winds are coming in from the Atlantic. This takes into the start of March, putting down quite a cold northerly wind actually just for the beginning of March. That could bring wintry showers into northern parts of the country. And then we go further into the first week of March, looking quite changeable and unsettled, and also quite cold again there on the 5th, putting down a bit of a northerly wind. It's a very long way out, but it is a suggestion that we might turn things rather more unsettled and cooler as we go through into the beginning of March. So that's how the operational GFS run is looking tonight. Let's go through all the ensemble members. Then we're starting off with the control member of the GFS ensemble. So this ensemble member is run at a lower resolution compared to the operational and parallel runs, but it's run at a higher resolution compared to all other ensemble members. That's how the GFS control run is looking for Sunday. High pressure is over the top of the country. Next week, we're bringing up these very mild, if not quite warm, southerly winds. We move through beyond that up towards the following week, and we find the high pressure is moving in central parts of Europe, still very much under high pressure conditions, but gradually the high pressure is beginning to show signs of weakening, although still keeping those above average heights going over and to the south. So the control GFS member is very anticyclonic even into the start of March. High pressure is pretty dominant. It's only right at the very end of that control run that was just starting to turn a little bit more unsettled from the Atlantic, but that's very high pressure dominated right way through to the beginning of March. Ensemble member number 1 with high pressure over to the east of the country on Sunday, and as we go beyond that we keep the high pressure fest going as we run up towards day 10. Just a little bit of weakening there, allowing the weather system in from the northwest, but very quickly high pressure re-establishes once again. Then the high pressure started to move up towards Greenland though. We're beginning to move into the opening days of March. We're starting to take the high pressure up to Greenland and pull down some colder winds from the north with ensemble member number 1. So that's turning things a lot colder through the first week of March. Could be exposing us to some snow showers in northern and eastern parts of the country, and a return of night frost as well with ensemble member number 1. Ensemble member number 2 has high pressure again in control in a week's time. Very, very dominant with that area of high pressure as we run out into the following week, the final days of February. Keep the anticyclonic signal going up to day 10, then gradually weakening in the closing days of February and the start of March. It's turning more unsettled, low pressure starting to head in from off the Atlantic. So a big change there through the first week of March, much more unsettled and becoming colder as well as that low pressure of rejection starts to dig southwards and eastwards. We begin to excuse me, pulling in some pretty cold air from the north and the east through the first week of March with ensemble member number 2. Ensemble member number 3 has high pressure in control in a week's time, and we go through into the following week, keeping that high pressure dominant. This time the high pressure is moving up towards Scandinavia, or it's trying to, so it's attempting to get wind in from the east, but that really fails, and we just keep high pressure sitting close to the country through the first week of March. We go as far as we can go with ensemble member number 3, gradually just seeing that high pressure breaking down a little bit by the 5th of March, starting to turn a little bit milder and a little bit more unsettled perhaps. That's ensemble member number 4. Again, high pressure is dominating next weekend, so all ensemble members are agreeing about that. High pressure well and truly in control for next weekend. Moving up towards day 10, a little bit more unsettled, especially for the north. Some rain, but down in the south we're keeping high pressure in control. And then as we go into the extended range with ensemble member number 4, it is looking more unsettled. The high pressure in mid-latitudes is weakening, but we are raising the heights to our north. Not putting in anything cold though, just have this area of low pressure sitting out to our west, so it's more unsettled. There's outbreaks of rain moving in, and the heights are rising up towards Greenland, but not in a position or not strong enough to force any cold air down. But that is a change again through the first week of March to something more unsettled. Ensemble member number 5 with that high pressure next weekend well and truly in control of the UK's weather, and as we get through into the more extended range we find that high pressure gradually weakening somewhat, although it's still keeping going down across the south. It's just the north that's turning more unsettled there with ensemble member number 5. Actually much of the UK still under high pressure even at the very end of that ensemble member on the 5th of March. Ensemble member number 6, again the high pressure is over and to the east of the country, lots of dry conditions next weekend. We move into the more extended range, so beyond day 10, still with that high pressure anchored over top of the country. Doesn't look like it wants to go anywhere fast, except right in the very extended range through the first week of March. It shows signs of going a little bit more unsettled. That's how we finish up on the 5th of March with ensemble member number 6. A little bit more unsettled out to west, some showery outbreaks of rain, but still quite mild, still bringing the air up from a southerly direction. Ensemble member number 7, we're under high pressure next weekend, and we're very mild, if not quite warm as well. Going up to day 10, so it's more unsettled for the north. High pressure is still quite dominant down in the south with ensemble member number 7. And then in the extended range, some more unsettled conditions through the first week of March. Low pressure is heading in off the Atlantic, so it's turning a lot more unsettled and rather colder as well. As the low pressure begins to dig into central parts of Europe, we start to turn the winds into the north, so colder and more unsettled through the first week of March with ensemble member number 7. Ensemble member number 8 under high pressure next weekend. We go into the more extended range, heading up towards day 10, still keeping that high pressure in control through most parts of the country. Into the first week of March, gradually the high pressure is broken down by low pressure in the Atlantic. We revert back into westerly flow. So that's how we finish up by the 5th of March, looking rather unsettled with showers along with spells of rain in the north, and winds are in from the west coming in from off the Atlantic. So it's a little bit cooler compared to those southerly winds that we start off with. Ensemble member number 9, high pressure is in control next weekend. All ensemble members are in agreement about that. Heading up towards day 10 and beyond day 10, the high pressure is trying to go to Scandinavia, so this one has a go at getting wind into the east, but doesn't really pull it off. It just gradually starts to erode that high pressure and allow low pressure to move in from off the Atlantic through the first week of March. That's how we finish up with ensemble member number 9, looking quite unsettled. Low pressure has broken down the high pressure, and we're cooler and more unsettled there. Ensemble member number 10 with high pressure in control over to the east of the country as we go into next weekend. Beyond that, high pressure continues to be dominant up to day 10, sitting right over the top of the country. Then the high pressure is moving up to Scandinavia with this one, and we are turning wind into the east. Albeit it's not a particularly cold easterly, but this one does bring in cooler air from the east. And eventually it breaks that high pressure down, starts to move low pressure in from off the Atlantic by the 5th of March. So that was doing something a little bit different actually. That gets a Scandinavian high going, albeit not with a particularly cold easterly. Ensemble member number 11 has those warm southerly winds and high pressure dominating next weekend as we go into the more extended range. Low pressure is nibbling away at that high pressure from the northwest, but you see all the while that high pressure is very close to the south, so southern and southeast areas remaining dry even into the opening days of March. More unsettled, yes, though, up in the north and west. We finish up like that, flat westerly flow, showers or longer spells of rain with those westerly winds. Ensemble member number 12, high pressure brings dry and warm weather next weekend. Beyond that, heading up towards day 10, we start to see that the high pressure begins to just weaken a little bit. So in the north and west, the high pressure is weakening a bit, but down in the south, high pressure continues to be quite dominant. Eventually, we start to get into the extended range on Ensemble member number 12. It does go a little bit more unsettled to the north and west, but even right at the very end of that Ensemble member on the 5th of March, high pressure is still very, very close to the south. There's no quick way out of this high pressure, it seems. So dry conditions could continue even into the early part of March, I would have thought. Ensemble member number 13, again, lots of high pressure next weekend, dry and pretty warm conditions too. Low pressure heads in from off the Atlantic as we move towards day 10. And then beyond that, this one does turn a lot more unsettled. So this one is genuinely unsettled one with low pressure out in the Atlantic, bringing showers or longer spells of rain. Jet streams dipping southwards as well, so it is turning cooler and more unsettled with Ensemble member number 13 during the first week of March. Ensemble member number 14 with high pressure over to the east of the country next weekend, mainly dry and quite warm. Up to day 10, keeping a lot of high pressure influences going. Eventually this one is moving the high pressure out to the west in the more extended range, pulling in some colder air from the north, at least for a while. And then it's turning things unsettled as we get to the end of Ensemble member number 14. Low pressures moving in from the Atlantic. We have got high pressure over Scandinavia with this one, and quite cold air sitting to our east as well. So that's possibly a little bit poised to bring us something colder through the first week of March. Ensemble member number 15, dry and pretty warm next weekend under high pressure dominated conditions, heading up towards day 10, still keeping that high pressure well and truly in control. And many more extended range, so just keeping high pressure very close to the south of the country in particular. Northern areas a little bit more unsettled, yes, but overall that high pressure never really goes anywhere, just stays very close to us, keeping things pretty dry. Yes, it's a bit cooler, but keeping things very dry into the first week of March. Ensemble member number 16, dry and warm with high pressure next weekend. This could see record-breaking temperatures next weekend. It will depend very much on the exact parameters within the atmosphere at the time. Up to day 10, high pressure is gradually being broken down. It's trying to turn more unsettled, but again, that high pressure never really gets broken down. It never really goes anywhere, and we just keep lots of high pressure influences right way through to the first week of March with Ensemble member number 16. Ensemble member number 17 has a high pressure in control for next weekend, and then we move into the extended range beyond day 10, and it does turn more unsettled, particularly to the north and west with low pressure in the Atlantic. High pressure continues though to be close to the southern part of the country. Eventually we start moving that high pressure up towards Scandinavia, but it's still ridging through the country, still pretty dry through the first week of March with Ensemble member number 17. Ensemble member number 18 with high pressure again bringing dry and warm conditions to much of the country next weekend. In a more extended range does this one break down the high pressure, so gradually this one is turning a bit more unsettled from the Atlantic. This one's turning a bit wet and windy, maybe even a little bit stormy to the north of Scotland there through the first week of March. Ensemble member number 19 under high pressure next weekend, and then we go up to day 10, still under high pressure, just a little bit cooler with wind from the east. In the more extended range, the high pressure just continues to dominate as we go into the opening days of March. very slowly it's stepping in towards southeast parts of Europe, but that one keeps us under high pressure through the first week of March too. And then ensemble member number 20, again dry and warm next weekend, and beyond that moving up towards day 10. A little bit more unsettled for the north and west, but still pretty dry down in the south. In the extended range, it's turning genuinely unsettled, wet and windy conditions moving in from off the Atlantic through the first week of March with ensemble member number 20. So it looks like there's a bit of a split here between the ensemble members that want to keep some sort of high pressure going even into the first week of March. There's quite a few of them that are doing that, and the ensemble members that are turning things a lot more unsettled and a little bit cooler too through the first week of March. Very little sign of anything particularly cold. There's one or two ensemble members there that are producing cold northerly shots in the first week of March, but they are really minority options. Finally, the parallel run, which has been updating as we've been doing this video, looks like this. So for Sunday, again, high pressure is bringing dry and warm conditions next weekend, and then as we go up towards day 10, we keep those high pressure influences going to the south. Does look as though it's trying to get a bit more unsettled in the north and in the west too. Many more extended range through the first week of March, turning more unsettled. High pressure beginning to pull out into the middle of the Atlantic, so we're starting to bring some rain in from off the Atlantic, mainly for the north and west, I would have thought. Going a little bit cooler as well as the air is starting to dig in from the north of the Atlantic. But again, just talking about cooler and more unsettled. We're not talking about anything particularly wet. We're certainly not talking about anything particularly cold there before the 5th of March with the parallel GFS run. Finally, I can just show you the ensemble graph, and you can see how that's looking. We're looking at Buxton as the last place that we looked at in the Gales Sunday roundup. So this is how the ensembles are looking tonight. So of course this is the big warm period that we've got coming up in the next week or so. Temperatures are really going to be soaring as we get to around sort of Wednesday, Thursday into next weekend, and then through to the following week, way above average. The red line is the 30-year temperature average, so we're way above that. And then through the first week of March, this period just here, you see that it is a bit more unsettled and it's a little bit cooler as well, but very little sign of anything particularly cold. And we are just talking about a little bit more unsettled really through the first week of March, not looking desperately wet, I have to say. And it's in the extended range anyway, so I mean, these models will always try to revert back to westerlies. They'll always try to get that to the default pattern. So I wouldn't be at all sure that even in the first week of March we're going to turn things particularly unsettled. Could well be, but even into the first week of March, this high pressure could continue to cling on. Just have to wait and see. Right, that's it for today's videos. Tomorrow we're going to have a week to 10-day video update as usual. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.